everybody. It's time for Reclaiming America. We're glad you can join us again. I'm Bill.
Take three. I'm Dan. How y'all doing?
And we want to welcome you to our show. We have an interesting afternoon plan for you. A little bit different from what we normally do, but we think it's important to discuss the importance of certain holidays and the history behind it and educate you and get you a little bit
Especially today.
enjoyed.
It's Labor Day, Bill.
It is Labor Day.
When was the last time you labored?
You know, and we're not talking about labor in the hospital.
1742?
1741, actually.
Bill retired in the 1700s.
I've been around for thousands of years, and with that power, be careful. They call me the immortal.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be immortal. That would not be fun. But I digress.
Kept going there. Anyway, guys, we want to talk a little bit about the holiday.
You forgot to introduce Henry. Can you tell we don't script? This is Henry, passed out.
And this is Henry,
He's
excited about our topic
He's had
for
a
today.
little barbecue today. He's on his fifth beer, but certainly not Budweiser. All right. Sorry, I know I throw you off completely.
Oh, my God.
He drinks Coors Light. That's what I heard.
Yep. I thought it was catnip.
You know, I'm going to bring some catnip.
Whatever.
That could be fun. Our producer just gave me the
Give you that look. Yeah.
Wow. On that note, go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
Anyway, back to that holiday in September that gives everybody a 3-day weekend.
today,
and
you mean.
like most of those days, no one pays attention to the holiday, just the fact that they get a 3-day vacation, or sometimes stretch it to 4 and 5. But there is a reason for this day, and we thought we'd like to talk about it a little bit.
I thought it was just so we could sit around and drink and have fun.
Right, and go to the beach if it's still open. It's our last weekend before everything gears up again.
Yeah, the tourists are out after today.
Not really.
Go home.
Yeah, after Labor Day, they're pretty much the
it's our
schools are
beach
opening
now,
around the
yeah.
country. Yeah, and I affectionately called them when I used to live at the beach the terrorists coming in.
Oh, we call them Taurons now.
Taurons.
Tourist morons.
Taurus morons.
They're called Taurons.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry those of you that come to visit our quaint little towns, but that's what the locals call you.
Yeah, and we do need the economy, so we treat you nice while you're here.
I'd charge you $40 a day for parking, but that's beside the point.
Whether you have a car or not, that's the sad part.
I'm totally destroying this show today.
You're on a roll.
I'm in a great mood.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's a holiday. All right.
Anyway.
What is the purpose, Bill, behind Labor Day?
Oh, let's see. It's a federal holiday that recognizes the history of labor and the people who work, everyday common men, and people that work in all the industries and public and private sector who really don't get recognized for many other reasons.
Okay.
And so this was put aside as a day to celebrate the fruits of their labor and the fact that they are producing something that keeps this country great.
So they get one whopping day off all year long to celebrate.
For that particular holiday, yes, they do, but it beats none.
Fair point. I can't disagree with you on that.
But so anyway, how long have we had Labor Day? Do you remember?
I'm going to say 19 teens.
Okay.
Am I close?
Well, let's
That's a
say
guess. I don't know.
on June 28th, 1894,
I
Congress
wasn't-
passed an act making the first Monday in September every year a legal holiday.
I wasn't too far off. I was 20 years off.
Give or take.
Give
It's
or
like to
take.
hang by your toes in a vat of acid for 20 years.
I'll take it, though.
Okay.
Could have been
Prior
18.
to that, to be fair, there's been things going on since the mid-1880s where individual states and cities have been doing this, and it just kept growing. And so at some point, the feds decided maybe we should make this a real holiday rather than just have it celebrated here, there, and everywhere.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
I
wrong.
seem to remember it. He does it every time. Grade school learning New York was the first state.
New York was the first state to have a Labor Day, and that is true.
See, I got one right. I actually do remember learning that in, I don't know if it was grade school or middle school, but I do remember that. Mr. Peterson's class.
And the Maguire and the Micquire, Maguire and Micquire, those are two people that are credited with getting this holiday off the ground.
Okay,
One was
gotcha.
secretary of the local 344 of machinists in New Jersey, and the other one was service of the Central Labor Union in New York. So that's why it would be centered to the Northeast
sense,
initially. Yeah. Okay. And actually, who was the president that signed it into law? Let's try that. 1894.
1894. It's pre-Roosevelt. Fillmore?
Bill Moore, thank you. I appreciate that.
Fillmore.
Fillmore.
Millard Fillmore. Mallard or whatever.
No.
No. I actually don't remember when he was.
They named a city in Ohio after him.
Cincinnati.
Cleveland. There you go. Cincinnati. Yes, President Cincinnati.
Well, it was funny, right?
Which
Well, I was going to go with
with
Dayton first, but I'm like, because I'm trying to think of who it wasn't, But so Grover Cleveland.
Grover Cleveland was one that signed it into law.
So Mr. Alexander, right? Because that was his actual last name.
Now, this was interesting because the reason we even had labor unions was that the maltreatment of the workers.
Correct.
And the workers had no rights, and you had that big fire where all those women died, and that really sparked this thing from kicking in, because there were just no fire escapes. There was nothing there to protect the people.
OSHA didn't exist.
Yeah, nothing, and that might be a good thing, not having OSHA. We'll go.
No, we're trying to be positive about the day. Yeah,
I'm positive it's not a good thing. But anyway, this started out as a celebration for union membership, and it's interesting because when we have less people today. We have, triple our numbers, and we have less people today in unions than we did then.
Oh, we're going there. Okay.
Might as well head
let's
there.
talk unions. All right. So, yeah, union membership, I believe, is at the lowest level. Oh, he's got a graph there.
Yes, I do.
You have to send me that graph, and then I can put it up on the screen for the fine folks that are
I'll even
listening.
give you copies of this when we go.
I need it in electronic form, my friend.
I'll give you the link.
142 years old. The man still doesn't know how to use anything but paper. At least we got him off the stone tablets. All right, moving on. So, yeah, I do believe that union membership is at its lowest levels.
Yeah, I would tell you what's interesting. Even you go from the year 2000, we had 16.3 million people in unions. That's public and private.
So in 2000,
Okay.
population then was around 300 million. Give or
Right.
take. Okay.
We're now down to about 14.3. So we got about 2 million less people.
And we got 30 more million people
Yeah.
in the 20 years. So 10%, that's about 5% of the population ballparking it.
Yeah. So and it's not getting any better. And as a matter of fact, if you kind of look at what's going on with unions, the public sector is the one that's growing in great mass numbers.
Yeah, private sector unions are pretty much...
Well, with
they're not-
manufacturing going
they're
overseas.
gone. Yeah, well, you stole my point. Stop doing that. I was going to say, private sector unions are going away because
I just heard that.
we don't manufacture anything, and
No, except cars, and we don't even do that anymore. We assemble them from parts coming from
but they're
around
not
the world.
even. Most of them aren't even being built here anymore.
Well, they're being assembled here
Yeah,
because what they found out is when they started putting the tariffs on all these cars coming in,
it was cheaper to
it just
ship the parts and build
ship the
them.
parts and
Yeah.
build them here and beat the tariffs, and that was good because we did put people to work, which is not a bad thing.
Yes, but it would be better if we were making the parts here too. But I digress again. But the public sector is where most union membership is now. Well, in general.
The public is probably the largest sector at this point.
So government workers
Pretty much.
and any specific government workers that might be the largest unions.
Well, if you go to the largest unions in the country, you'd have to start with the teachers' unions.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the sewer workers union. No,
No, I don't think so. I
it's
mean,
the teachers union.
they've already dug their hole.
Oh God!
And they actually started it in Flushing.
Henry just puked.
Did you miss the
I heard.
Flushing?
No, I heard it. I'm ignoring it.
Okay.
So yeah, teachers. I mean, we're joking around, but teachers unions are the largest. I would say by far. You may have the data there. I don't actually know it off the top of my head.
Oh.
Which is why they actually have the political power that they do.
And I find that, and I think I've said this on another show. What I find problemsome with the teachers unions, they're one of the few people that they get to elect the people that negotiate their contracts. Mm-hmm. And they have the power to decide who's going to be a mayor or a councilman because they can turn out enough votes and enough people to work the election to make the phone calls, knock on the doors, whatever you need to get done. And so it's always an issue if you elect them, if they can guarantee an election to a mayor or a couple of assemblymen or aldermen, whatever you want to call.
State senators, yep.
How do you then turn around and how do they negotiate a contract in good faith? They can't.
Which is why they don't.
Which is why they get what they want when they get it.
Which is why, for example, in New York State, the state's basically bankrupt right now because They're trying to cover the pension costs for the New York State Teachers Union.
Well, and again, the problem in New York State, which we don't have in North Carolina, is there's one payment set up for everybody in our state in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
In New York, there's 754, I believe, eventual school districts.
Right.
So that's 754 contracts, and then none of them are the same.
Some of them aren't even close. The area I'm from, the district I worked in, which was Bern, up in the mountains, quaint little town, what those teachers got versus Albany, the capital, you might have been two different planets. That's how far apart they were.
And if you go in, what's interesting, if you go into New York City, which is the big Megillah in the state, they're earning an average of 20% less than everybody around them.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That much? I knew it was less, but I didn't know it was that much.
When I was a high school principal in New York, and I took over, they gave me a building, and this is a little side note, but I took over a building in July, September school's opening, and they put a buyout together, and I lost 1/3 of my staff on the buyout.
Who's the genius who did that?
So they were saving money because you go the 100,000 people out the door,
okay.
and the 40,000 come in the other
Well,
door.
I get that, but you had, 2 months to hire?
Yeah. So
X number
we
of
started
teachers?
hiring, but my advantage was I had so many people coming in from the city because it was a bump in their salary, major jump in their salary.
They were.
I hired probably a good third to a half of the people I hired in those 50 slots were from New York City.
But then again, you're brain draining New York City because qualified people. I'm sure you were taking the best you could get.
Oh yeah, we didn't, and and the other good news, they would come and say if I hired you, for example, and they say we have also got a friend that teaches such and such. Are you looking for one? And my answer was always, if they're any good, I would like to interview them. But I'm telling you now, if they screw up, you're gone with them. Because don't forget, in that first 3 years, you're gone. I don't need a reason.
But then after that,
I can't get rid of you. It's impossible.
and that's the other point where I was going to go to. So the district I worked in, I will not name names, but I've talked about this before. There was a gentleman who was 50 whatever, close to retirement, within 3 years or so, who basically, the union contract is what he did. He showed up at 7:25 when he was required to be there. He left at 3:20 when he was could leave, and he showed movies all the time.
Well, it was almost like that the teacher's movie with that ditto.
Yeah,
Nothing but dittos.
But here he was making, this is no joke, almost $100,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. And that's not unusual.
Meanwhile, there were amazing teachers, like at the level you were talking about. They were making like 40 grand.
And the problem is based on seniority. When the budget comes, it's the younger teachers that are gone first.
Yeah, they cut.
They're your most vibrant teachers in most cases. They're turned on to what they're doing. They really like what they're doing. They're bringing in new, fresh ideas to the schools, but they're the first ones to go.
And they're the most incentivized to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the problem. I'm going to go on unions now, sorry. Specifically teachers' unions, because I've had it with them. I'm supposed to be the pro-union guy right now, aren't I? Well, I'm going to fail at that. I'm actually not anti-union. I mean, I'm kind of neutral on it. I see there are places where they're absolutely necessary. Worker safety would be a good example of that. But you look at the other side of it is when they amass the power they have, and you've got students in one class that are watching movies in a science class, and in another class, you got an amazing teacher, and then they're going to get rid of the amazing teacher because of seniority, first of all. And there's no accountability. You can't get rid of someone who, once they get their tenure, which 3 years, I think
3 years is the standard, yeah.
I think some districts might be 5, but I'm not sure on that. But after that, you cannot be fired. I mean, short of a criminal offense, and even then, they have to go through the process.
Well, what I'm glad to say, when you go to North Carolina, there is a method to go after tenure teachers.
Okay.
And what you end up doing is
I did not know that, to be honest with you.
You have, let's say, you have a teacher that even failed that particular year. They got an unsat for that year. You can go back and put in a temporary probation situation. So for a year, they have to go through the lesson plan submitting and all this stuff, and they get supervised more often, and hopefully that gets them reunited and gets them going again. Many times it does, sometimes it
I was
doesn't.
going to ask you, what was the success rate of that? Because I would have no idea.
Probably realistically 2-1 in
Well, it's
favor.
not too bad.
No, realistically, in the
bad.
times I've seen it happen or done it,
Yeah, okay, all right.
2-1, you can get about 2/3 of them back into where they need to go. Now, how long they stay there, then you go to a place like New York now, where the rules are so different with their tenure law. What used to drive me nuts, if you had an unsatisfactory teacher who was a tenured teacher, it took 3 years of unsatisfactories to get rid of them. Okay. However, the union contract allowed them to transfer by seniority to any other building, and once they got there, the union contract said they start with a clean slate.
Yeah, well, in my district, they would shift them to other jobs.
Well, you could become a math teacher in this building, and you're about going your third year of Gunsats. You transfer to building Y, and now you got a clean
The
slate.
clock restarts.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, frankly, there was a teacher that worked in that district. We all knew that about every 8 years you got a 2-year stint with him because he would bounce between the 4 middles and the high schools, and every 2 years he was transferring out because nicest guy in the world, but couldn't teach himself to put his clothes on.
There's a picture in my brain I did not want to have. Thank you very much.
I thought I'd help you there and get
Let
it
me
going.
ask you this, Bill.
Yes.
I don't want to pick on teachers' unions too much, so let's set them aside right now. In general, where do you stand on unions?
Unions served a purpose. Okay, they did.
I noticed past tense unserved.
When you go back to where
Okay.
where the common worker was in the very beginning and the conditions they had to work with, and there no protection for job or no protection if you got hurt. The family gets screwed over. They came in. They also raised rates. They put some protection in. Unfortunately, the pendulum has swung so far to the other side. They've become a second administration in either the public or private sector. And in some cases they're stronger than the actual company that's there.
Many cases, that is.
Case in point, go to the auto workers.
Auto workers is one, and if it ever gets past the Starbucks union, that company will be devastated if they get unionized.
And if you don't even, for example, when the autos workers go on strike, they have a pension fund set up. They have a strike
fund
fund.
for that, yeah.
They draw something like 90% of their salary not to go to work.
Right. But they're also paying into it.
Yeah, and so is the auto workers when they make their payments to the unions.
Right. So, I mean, I'm trying to be fair here. It's not like just it magically appears they have this money. People are paying into this fund. So it's kind of like an insurance policy.
And then and I'm going to backtrack to education again.
Oh boy, he's just not going to let them go.
Nope, I'm not going to get myself in more trouble.
You are going to get yourself in more trouble.
In New York State, for example, they have what they call the Taylor Law.
Oh, I'm familiar with that one. Go.
Okay.
Explain to you. I know the Taylor Law. Okay.
Strikes were illegal in New York, so if you went out on strike and teachers' unions did it, they were supposed to be fined 2 days for every day you were out on strike. So you lost your salary plus another day for being on strike. So that was supposed to deter unions. But what they ended up doing is they would turn around and they would negotiate. Before I came back, if we're out on strike for 10 school days, okay, they would negotiate 10 makeup days that were not in the calendar. So you got those days back anyway, which I found the wrong thing to do. And again, I'm not anti-union, but at this particular point, if you choose to go out and strike, there are consequences, and you need to take them.
Sounds like you are anti.
With all things considered, I have been a past vice president of a major statewide
So
union
I can
expert
blame you then.
of the administrators union. I was vice president at the state level, and in the local, I was.
still like you.
Yeah, that's fine.
The way I don't want to harbor on the teachers too much, but the way I look at it with unions is similar to what you were saying. They definitely had a purpose, let's say 100 roughly years ago. Do I think they have a purpose now? I think in some cases they do. But I also see the other side of it. And I'll use, like, for example, fast food workers trying to unionize. Starbucks workers trying to unionize. I'm not against them unionizing in general, but I don't think the people trying to organize the union realize they realize, but the workers don't realize what's going to happen. They're going to get rid of those workers. And McDonald's is a perfect case now, right?
Yeah, thanks to the kiosks.
The kiosks are there. Walmart's.
Yep.
The threat to unionize was put out there. What did Walmart do? Okay, go ahead, unionize. Now everybody's self-checking out.
Now you got 10 registers and one person watching them instead of 10
I was,
people.
I was thinking the other day because I went to Walmart and I will not use the self-checkouts. I've used one time in my entire life. I will never use them until they absolutely force me to. But I was looking at our local Walmart and there were, I want to say 6, 7 registers that are available now. One was open, just so they could say they had one open, and that line was out. There were 20 people in line, so I had to sit there. Aldi's of all companies now has gone to it.
Yep.
So Aldi's used to pride itself. Walmart. Let me just backtrack. Well, remember, it used to be if there's more than 3 people in line,
they'd open up another register.
That's
Absolutely.
gone.
Yep.
Aldi's was very similar, right? They saw. I don't know what their number was, but if they were more than I want to say 3 or 4 people in line, they'd open up another register. Now, because those threats to unionize are out there, those people got laid off or self-checking out. And the people that remain, instead of having, say, I don't know what an Aldi's has, but let's say they have 10 people are used to, they might have 5 now. So it's costing jobs.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. $15 an hour may be a great minimum wage, but if there's no job because of it, what have you done?
That's my point, right? And that's where, again, I'm kind of in the middle on unions. I do see benefits to them, but I think in a lot of cases, when they look at unionizing, they don't have honest conversations with the people and say, look, yeah, we can unionize, but 1 out of 2 of you are going to lose your job. The one that remains, yeah, you're going to get 15 an hour. You'll never see a pay raise again, and that kind of stuff. It's good to celebrate Labor Day, just to kind of put a bow on this. I think it's good that we celebrate workers, but it initially was basically to celebrate unionized workers.
What's an interesting
time
number,
to
though,
move
when
away
you
with
want to talk about Labor Day and
Got
numbers?
about 20 seconds.
Good. Workers between the age of 45 and 64 have the highest membership rates.
And they're aging out.
Yep, and they're going quickly.
Very quickly, so the unions are going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they're reaching out for other areas. All right, so we've reached the point now where I guess we have to shut this segment down. And
we have to go to a break, my friend.
we have to take a break and pay some bills. And if we'd like you to donate some money to help us pay those bills, so give him a call. Be back on Reclaiming America.
We'll be back in a minute.
Back on again for the Reclaiming America.
Take a breath,
So welcome
please.
back for segment 2. Where are we heading this time, sir?
How about sports?
We could use a couple.
It's Labor Day weekend. It used to be the first weekend for the NFL. Now they pushed it back a couple weeks.
Yeah, but they're doing their practice games, if you will.
Yeah, I don't watch them anymore.
Well.
So yeah,
And you're actually gearing up in baseball because they're getting into that stretch.
I do watch baseball now. I actually used to be the guy. My wife will tell you this. 8 a.m. I watched all the pre-games on the NFL. You watched ESPN from 11 to 1. And then you watched the 1 o'clock game, the 4 o'clock game, and the 8 o'clock game. That was me.
Now you only have to watch the Dallas game.
Why?
Because they're going to take the whole thing.
What?
You heard it first here.
I will tell you something. The Dallas Cowboys can never be arrested for domestic violence. Do you know why?
I'm going to bite on this one. Why?
Because they can't beat anybody. That's like 10. Come on.
I'll give you 1.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, I get 10 on that one. So yeah, I used to be the NFL whore. I'll call it that. Really into it, and then they went woke, and
Now he's just dropped the NFL part of that title.
yep, I pretty much did not watch them when COVID was going on. Like the 2020 season, barely watched. If I watched maybe parts of 2 games, I was just so done with it. That's when I abandoned ESPN too completely. Now, like last year, if a game was on, I had nothing to do, I might turn it on. It's kind of changed for me. But this season, we'll see what happens. Where are you at with the NFL now? Do you other than the crybabies? I mean the Cowboys. Sorry, said that wrong.
I used to watch it a lot more than I do. But, now I have a criteria in my head before I'll watch a game. if anybody takes a knee, I don't watch the game.
Oh, that was an instant turn off for me.
Yeah, I don't
Which is
bother.
why I know Fox doesn't show it.
Yeah, but neither, and some of them have actually taken to leaving their players inside and bringing them out after it's over to avoid that.
Well, I actually went to a game last year. We went to a Panthers game, and I was watching. Nobody took a knee there.
I would
But
think
there were players that did not come out. Both teams were out, but after they finished
few
the anthem,
came-
a few
few
came
dripped out.
So, they're trying to address it. But, I used to love speculating on the NFL. This time of year, it's who's going to win. Fantasy football, I was huge into that.
it's very, very nice, but we already told you who's going to win. So
Anybody but the Cowboys, yes, we know that.
we're going to be at the Super Bowl watching the Cowboys walking off with the trophy.
It's not 1970.
And just who do you think is going to pull this all off?
Ooh, we're going to talk about that, huh?
Yeah, let's go there.
All right, let's go there. In the NFC,
Yeah.
I believe it's the Eagles.
No, they're going to be number 2, the Cowboys.
You can dream. And I'm a Giants fan, by the way. I am not an Eagles fan. In fact, I don't like the Eagles. Ever been to Veterans Stadium or whatever it's called now?
No, I've never been there.
So there's a reason there's a jail cell. I've been to a lot of stadiums. I get it because me and my buddy showed up in our Giants gear. Yeah, I've been in visiting stadiums and you kind of give each other a little crap and all that fun stuff. That was like we were taking our
Beyond
lives.
crap?
Oh, that was like it got ugly. Security came over a couple times, but setting that aside, I do think the Eagles have a very good team.
I do too. Just not as good as the Cowboys.
I'm not settled on their quarterback, but I think they have a very good team. Cowboys, what are you going to do? Bring back Oh No Romo?
Just sit back.
That's his nickname, Tony
You can
Oh
say
No
what
Romo.
you want to say, but in February, when they hoist that trophy, the Vince Lombardi trophy, and it's a cowboy running around the field with it, I'm going to say, I told you so.
The only way a Cowboy's going to be running around the field is if they dress some guy up from the Village People and have him carry it around.
Oh, that was a low blow.
I remember you saying the same thing last year, and the year before that, and the year before that.
Yeah, but this year I mean it.
See, I'm realistic. I am a Giants fan. I'm hoping 9-7, 8-8,
Are they
somewhere
still
there.
in the league?
How many Super Bowls have the Cowboys won since 2000? To refresh my memory.
I don't recall that number off the top of my
That
head.
number would be 0, my friend.
Maybe so.
And how many of the Giants won?
One too many.
Dos.
Well, yeah, but they
And
cheated.
who did they beat both times?
Well, couldn't it beat the Cowboys?
The greatest quarterback ever.
They didn't play against Romo.
I remember when Romo was lined up for the field goal and the ball went right through his hands at the start of his career, and it went downhill from there. He's a great golfer, though, and a good analyst. I will give
Troy
you
is
that.
my real hero.
Troy. Mm-hmm. Don't get me started on him. Overrated has been.
Is there anybody on that team you like?
Tom Landry.
Boy, let's go back a few decades on
I was
that one.
born to hate the Cowboys. How did you become a Cowboys fan when you're from New York City area? Do tell that one. So you weren't a homer, obviously.
Well, the other thing was I was never a Yankee fan either. I mean,
Okay.
I was a Dodger fan, and then when they
Well,
pulled
that
out,
I can see because you were alive when the Dodgers were still in New York.
that's true.
You
And
weren't alive when the Cowboys were in there because they never were.
And then when they moved out and the Mets came into being, and they took the colors of both the Giants and the Dodgers and made it into a new team, I became a Met fan. So
So you like Double-A baseball.
look, the Mets have proven the Mets and the Yankees are in the same division, the same site, and they've proven one is the best team money can buy, and the other one is the worst team money can buy because they spend the most money and they find more ways to lose it.
This year, both teams are the worst teams money can buy. I'm a Yankees fan also, and they're horrible this year.
Now, pitching,
Boone's got to go.
all I know is that from everything I hear is the Mets long term, their pitching coming up is just
You
going to make
know
them.
they traded the top 2 starters they had, right?
We're not going to talk about that. We're talking about the AA, AAA players they're going to bring in.
Oh, okay. Because that always works out.
It does. And they picked up a couple of good players. So then
I will give you this. You are the eternal optimist.
have to be.
Yeah, I would be. You have to be a Mets and Cowboys fan. You didn't answer me. How did you become a Cowboys fan?
just happened. You know, America's team, a good soldier, all that good stuff. And
America's team.
yeah, they are America's team.
No, they were America's
They are
team.
America's team.
I hate to tell you, but it was New England took over, and then Tampa last year, because, you know, God forbid we don't have Tommy on TV every freaking game. I like Tommy. I thought Mr. Brady, I do think he's the best quarterback ever.
I think he might be GOAT, as they commonly refer
I
to him.
call him the GOAT. I think by far he's the GOAT.
If those of you who don't know what a GOAT stands for, the greatest of all time.
And the reason I say it, because my criteria is not how many touchdown passes or any of that. It's do you make the players around you better? And I don't think anyone has ever done it as well as he has.
Oh, except maybe Joe Montana.
Joe Montana's overrated. I'm sorry. I'm going to go there. Let's do it.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana is overrated. Everybody likes him because he won 4 Super Bowls, right? Undefeated in the Super Bowl. I got 2 words for you. Terry Bradshaw.
We are not.
Based on those criteria, Bill, Terry Bradshaw is equal to Joe Montana.
No.
4-0, 4-0.
Well, based on those criteria, you'd have to give it to Brady, who got
Well, I
lucky
do.
a couple of times.
I do give it to Brady.
He got lucky a couple of times.
Montana had one of the best offensive lines ever,
Right?
one of the best defenses ever in the late 80s. That defense was amazing. The greatest receiver ever, Jerry Rice.
Oh, Jerry. He wanted to be he
God.
actually wanted to get to Dallas, but
And a very, very good running back, Roger Craig.
oh, that I'll give you.
And pretty damn good tight end. And my proof, I always say, is what do you do in Kansas City? Oh.
Wait a minute.
I'm stirring up controversy
What
here.
did Brady do when he moved on?
Won a Super Bowl.
Maybe the lost Super Bowl. It reminds me of kind of like the Yankee. It reminds me of the year the Mets won the lost
Do you know
lost
he
series.
won a Super Bowl in Tampa, right?
I do know he won a Super Bowl there. I know he got lucky. Nobody else showed up. And look. A quarterback is only as good as the people that surround him.
I agree.
You know, if a good owner and a good manager is going to get the super circle around this guy and let him do what he can do. Now, I will give Brady above average is what he was throwing, and above that. Without that line, he's no better than the rest.
I agree with you. I'm not going to argue that point. But you're saying it was the owner and the coach.
I'm saying that they put the line around him, that front line that protected him to give him the time to do it. You give half the quarterbacks out there the time that Brady had, they would be also superstars.
Or, wait a minute now. Let's look at this from... See, now you're talking to an offensive lineman here.
And you're as offensive as anybody I know.
And a defensive lineman, my friend. So one of Brady... The reasons that offensive line is so good is Brady got rid of the ball faster than anybody did.
I won't argue
When the
that.
ball's going out at 2.1 seconds, you ain't going to sack anybody.
I don't have that fact to be factual.
I don't know that it's 2.1, but it's somewhere around there. I mean, 2 steps, ball's gone. You're not going to sack him. He had at above average lines, I'll give you that. And he had a very good coach. Belichick is very good.
The way he cheated was
Who's
fine.
the coach for the 49ers back in the 80s?
I don't remember.
Bill, shit, no, I'm blanking because you did that to me. You know who I mean, not Bill Parcells.
God, no, not Bill Parcells. God,
Look that up, producer, because now I'm totally... everybody's sitting there
Put Bill
going...
Parcells back with the Giants.
He was very good with the Giants. By the way, you know where he used to live near me?
Did he move in that reason?
He lived in Saratoga, New York.
Okay.
I believe he's still there like 6-7 months out of the year. He's not a nice man.
Really?
Oh, no. He's got a very bad reputation.
Speaking of bad reputations, let's move on a little
All
bit.
right, let's go.
Let's go to another sport. Let's talk about soccer.
Let's not, because that's not a sport.
Oh,
I'm going to stir it up today.
I have 2 grandsons that play soccer
How can you
at the
call it a
college
sport
level.
when you can't hit somebody? If you can't level the person running down the field, how is that a
Is
sport?
tennis a sport?
No.
Really? Swimming is not a sport?
No.
So the only sport that
Boxing,
counts is if you
football,
can have a,
baseball, because you can hit them with the ball,
or you can slide into them.
or you can slide into them. Violence is part of the sport. I'm
This is
exaggerating.
not me talking. For those of you that are soccer players, I have two grandsons that are playing soccer at the college level, and I know what they go through. I
When
know
I
the
played
damage they
football,
have.
back in my high school days, you had the football field was here and the soccer practice field was here. When you got cut from the football field, you went and played soccer.
Yeah, nowadays you go over to the soccer field and you grab a kicker and bring him back and make him your kicker.
Well, it was then too, right? We had our kicker Kim trotting across the field
And
Friday
night,
nights.
and it's
would
the only
kick
time
his-
he didn't make a practice
He
for
would
the other
kick
team.
his, because we always went for 2 points anyway. So he would kick his one time a year in the kickoffs, and that was about it. He's a short little shit.
And I'm going to get his
Weighed
pay.
about 50 pounds soaking wet. My arm was bigger
Anyway,
than
I was
him.
going to talk about women's
Go on.
soccer.
Women's soccer. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
the World Cup.
All right, we're a couple weeks out of date
We're-
on that, but go ahead.
It happened a few weeks ago, but it's still something that is lingering in many people's mind. The chance that the team that was supposed to go the distance got knocked out in the first round because Madam Purplehead couldn't make an easy kick that the average my grandkids could make with
Address
their
your
eyes
comments
closed.
to Bill Moore at.
That's fine. You
Go
can
ahead,
find me.
finish your thought.
I did finish my thought. She blew the game.
Well, I would say the team blew it. She missed a kick
She missed a kick
that I
that
could
should
make,
not
and
have
I
been
can't
missed.
even play soccer
And that's my point. She missed a point that did, and she walked off laughing.
because she didn't care.
Exactly. So she didn't belong there, and none of those. And I fault half a team that sits there and will not stand and salute for the flag, or they don't belong there. If you can't represent your country properly, you shouldn't be there. I think we need to take soccer into the new. We need to do the rugby haku.
What? Have you ever played rugby?
No, but I've seen a lot of it.
I played it one time, and it was a bunch of high school football players against what was known as the Albany Knickerbockers, which they were like really good. I have never been so sore in my life than the day after that game. Here we were, a bunch of 17, 18, 19-year-old kids playing guys that were in their 30s, and they beat us literally up and down the field. I was black and blue from head to toe. I have nothing but respect for rugby players. That's a sport.
Unfortunate. I know, because you can kick and you can bite and you can throw people around.
Things get grabbed, and I don't mean...
That's just called dating. So
Well,
don't go there. But I will tell you, unfortunately, with rugby, the only experience I really had with it, when I was a high school principal, one of my kids who played soccer, he went to college and he went to play rugby, and it wasn't even high school. It wasn't even a college team per se. It was like intramurals within the school. He died. He had a big game. He came back to his room, collapsed, and died.
I could see where that would happen because you take a lot of hits and you got no padding.
Yep. And
I mean, it is. I mean, I look back on it. I fondly remember it, but I remember the couple of days afterward. I could see that. I mean, you get drilled in rugby.
I've watched a few of the games. I'm not a big fan of it. Though the one that gets to me that you might like is lacrosse.
Oh, if I were a youngin,
Yeah.
that'd be the sport I'd play right now. You get to beat people with a stick,
And you have very little padding.
and I would play defense too. Oh, come on down, come on, son. I got my stick ready.
And you actually just want to protect the net.
That's all I'm doing. It ain't cheating if you don't get caught.
I have another grandson that's playing. I'm learning the little game of lacrosse now.
Have you ever tried that one?
No.
I have tried the ball. I was pathetic at it. I'm not.
Oh,
gonna lie.
yeah, you with my grandson trying
Yeah,
to
try
catch.
to taunt.
Yeah.
I was pathetic.
Yeah, that
at it.
doesn't work.
But again, I don't need to throw the ball. I just need to throw the person. Yes, I'm a violent
Which,
person.
according to your thing, the only sport that counts is the one you can wipe somebody out on.
And trash talk.
We forgot the trash talk.
Oh, you're talking to the master of
Now,
trash talk.
all sports have trash talking some level.
Oh, but I was like masterful at it.
I'm listening.
So when I played defense, I was a nose tackle, so I was right over the center. And we had conversations all game long. My goal was to make him miss the snap count twice a game, and I usually got it. I might have had conversations about his mom, his sister, every woman he's ever seen, dated, or known. If you ever knew, people
What goes on in those?
no idea what actually goes on. Like, we mic the players. You know how much they're going beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
And again, I never played in the NFL. NFL's a whole other level from that, and I love trash talking. And I got it back. There were times that guys got me good, and you sit there and laugh. It really is in good fun. It's not meant to be nasty. There are people that are nasty with it, and there are certain boundaries you're not supposed to, like wives, you're not supposed to go after wives. I might have a few times. No,
it's all in fun.
When I got into flag football, I would look these guys up and find out about their personal life. Like if I knew their wife's name, oh.
I don't know. And you think this is a fun game?
It was a blast. That was the best part of the game.
And what about all the fans? And they don't know all this is going on.
No, they can't hear it. Because if the ref I got flagged so many times. Because, you get flagged for that. That's a big no-no, Bill. It's kind of like, when they go in for x-rays. That's another one. They're not getting x-rayed. They're getting shot up. Now they go in the blue tent. We're going to check them under a tent. Why do you need to go under a tent to check them? Oh, I know why. Because they're injecting him.
No, they're probably
cortisone and Novocaine.
Medical privacy.
Yes, cortisone and Novocaine going in.
No, they would never do that.
Oh, no.
Especially
next, you'll tell me they don't smoke pot and use HGH either.
Never. First of all,
I don't care, by the way, that they do.
First of all, at what it costs for a player nowadays, I cannot see you risking that person's health and life for the rest of his life over a game, because you may have 7 more seasons in this guy, but if he gets hurt again, you've lost $7 million.
In baseball, I'll agree with you. Football, once you're cut, they don't pay you anymore. The NFL contract, once you're done, you're done. You don't get paid anymore. So when you hear there's guaranteed money, like quarterbacks get guaranteed money, right? That means you're guaranteed to get that. The average running back, you got a $20 million contract. Well, if they cut him after the next year, he might get 4 out of that 20.
Yeah, I understand Elliott's going to play, by the way, for the Eagles, because he's a has-been.
He used to be good.
He
done.
has been.
He's kind of done. I mean.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway.
But I'm actually glad that they did sign him, because that's a sign of loyalty. I'll give him that. It's one thing I can give the Cowboys. One.
They got him cheaper than otherwise, so they saved some dollars, which is also a good thing. Which they can put toward buying the trophies and all the events and paying for all the food when they take the Super Bowl.
When they lose and they try and pretend they won.
You heard it first here, all the way.
Remember, this is
this is on tape.
This is on tape.
I want you to be able to play.
Well, it's not really on tape. It's out on the internet. We don't do tape anymore.
So you'll be able to say, he predicted it 6 months ago. That's how good he is.
So if you're watching this in February and the Cowboys are in dead last, haven't even sniffed at the playoffs, put a comment in just so I can rub his face in it. We'll read the comments that week.
We appreciate that as always.
And as a Giants fan, hey, I'll take 7-9, 8-8, somewhere in there.
I think you're exaggerating your abilities.
I might be this year. I'm not going to lie.
Anyway, we got to wrap this one up
because
it's time to pay a bill. Segment 2 is complete for the day. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
All right. Welcome back to Reclaiming America.
Here I am, bringing us back to Reclaiming America.
I just jumped right in there.
Yep, this is
segment
the 2 of us.
3, Bill.
Or the third segment, whichever comes
Labor
first.
Day.
On Labor Day. I want to talk to you. There's a common feeling about out there that one person cannot make a difference anymore. And and they talk about it in voting, they talk about it in actions around the country. I'm going to give you a very true story that just happened in our county recently, and one person made a major difference. Okay.
Do tell.
Received a phone call from a senior citizen, older than you, but not much.
But younger than you.
That's two. And she was upset. She had gone to a senior citizens building for some work and some socialization. Okay. And she was given a survey put out by the state of North Carolina by Information and Technology, DOI, or DIT, whatever it is. And it was the usual questions as far as what do you do at technology, what do you got at home, how good are you, the usual stuff, and then they get into the usual questions: your ethnicity, how old are you, how much money do you make, the usual stuff at the end.
Why does that matter with regard to information technology?
We're not even getting there. That gets worse.
Okay. It gets worse. Okay.
That's why we had this discussion, because she was very upset with me, not with me, but with what she read, because the last 2 pages asked questions that she didn't think anybody needed to know about gathering, putting together exactly. Let me quote the plan that
Oh
they
boy.
were doing.
Don't get us banned, Bill.
Why could I get us
We don't
banned?
need any strikes. We don't need any of that stuff.
Well, we don't do strikes because you don't like baseball.
I do like baseball.
Not as much. All right. Here's the North Carolina Digital Equity Survey is the title
Oh
of
dear
it.
God.
So-
So DEI, digital equity. Oh dear God.
So anyway, on page 5 of the 6-page survey, the following questions were asked of people trying, aside from the usual questions, are you Spanish, Chinese, blah, 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 blah. But do you identify as a member of the LGBTQIA community? Yes, no, not sure. Or prefer not to answer.
That matters when you're using a computer.
Get
okay?
better. If so, which one do you identify as? Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer? I'm not sure what intersex is. I haven't looked this one up yet. But
We're not going there, Bill. You're going to get us banned. Stop it.
so that's, and then the fait de accompli on a plan that they're putting together was the following question: have you been, or are you currently incarcerated in a correctional facility? And your answers include no, or yes, I've been incarcerated in non-federal, I've been concentrated at the state level, or I've been jailed in the federal facility.
I could actually understand that one.
Okay.
No, because they don't have, brand new computers. The computers they're using are like 20 years old. So I'm trying to find something. All right.
Do you think the state might know when they send it to a facility that it's a prison?
I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just simply.
I mean, let's start with the simples.
I'm trying to be a positive force.
All right, so anyway, the lady called me. I immediately
I'd be
contacted
pissed, yeah.
two of our county commissioners because this was being handed out at a senior center within the county.
Before you go on, is this a state survey?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I called them. They knew nothing about it. They then put me in touch with the county manager.
Okay.
And he and I had several conversations. And he called in all the appropriate people and called me back and said, we don't know anything about it either, but we're pulling the survey. So then in my infinite wisdom,
So this is all about him, if you notice.
I then turned around and said, well, you know what? If this is coming from the state, maybe I should ask a state representative.
That was
if
my
they know
thought.
about
Go
it.
ahead.
So I then contacted one of our local representatives, sent him a copy of it, and he was incensed. And he said he was following on it. So I haven't got the final results of that. But this all comes from one person making a difference. If she had not called me, none of this would have happened.
So she's getting it pulled not just locally, but potentially across the state.
Right.
One person.
And, and I went so far as I actually contacted other county chairs and just made them aware. And what they did with it, I don't know. But again, one person can make a difference.
So it's the state's Department of Technology.
Information
whatever
Technology,
they call
yeah.
themselves.
Or DIT.
Do it. Department. Yeah, well, we'll see. Interesting, though. So who supervises them?
Evidently nobody.
That was my point, right? Is clearly nobody. Or maybe it came from the governor's office.
Well, they do report to the governor's office.
Yeah. Who's in charge? Yeah, that would be.
Well, he hasn't come out of his basement lately, so I don't know.
It's. Having worked in IT and been at different levels with it, there are certain things you do survey for, like what kind of computer you're using. That's why I was going where I was going with the prison one. All right, maybe they got to adjust the state's software to make sure that a prisoner could possibly use the computer to file some form with the state. I'm really stretching, I know, but I'm trying here.
Stretching that
Work with me.
rubber band broke in 4
Yeah,
spots.
I'm just trying. Okay. What color someone's skin is irrelevant. What their sexuality is irrelevant. As far as actual use of a computer. Now, you want to say, well, the color matters because, African Americans have less computers. Okay, I'll buy that, but that's not what they're surveying for. They're looking for usage, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. So, again, ageism. That would be another one I would target.
Yep. So anyway.
If it's at a senior center, are they polling elsewhere? There's a question.
Do not know that answer, but I do know in this county, as of yesterday, it wasn't being polled anyways that the county had anything to do with. And I'm assuming that other places are going to get pulled into it also. So
and by the way, credit to this woman for reaching
Absolutely.
out. Because 99.99% of people wouldn't have done that. They would have filled out the form. They might have left those boxes blank.
And to be fair to the survey, it did have a check that says I prefer not to answer.
They have to, by law, put that in there.
Okay, but that was there for the people to survey. But I just want to point out that you can make a difference in little things, because by calling the right people and getting people to information that they don't necessarily have, you caused a big change in the county and the state probably, and it was one person that did it.
And if someone had come to you and said, this is the reason why we're doing it, and had a valid reason, you would have been fine with it, and you probably could have gotten back to her and said, this is why we're asking that.
Well, the first question was, why are you doing this? And when nobody said, we don't know.
That's not the answer.
We have no clue. We didn't know what was happening.
That's government bureaucracy.
At its best.
At its best. And how much money has gone into printing this thing off.
Oh, and you could also do it online.
Yeah, okay. That would be like you trying to fill it out online.
Right here.
Master trash talker here. And I go easy on you. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it, this is the way to push back on all that stuff, right? The wokeness, if you will, is one person speaking out can make a difference.
And they can. But you got to realize that it's just like one vote. I'm aware, for example, in the Northeast, that there were 2 different runs for state senator, 17 counties involved in this particular area. In 2 different years, the man who won the election won by 20 and 17 votes in 17 counties. So one vote can make a big difference. You look at...
if 10 people had voted the opposite way, that election changes.
Look at Newby, our Supreme Court Justice.
I prefer to not look at him, but go ahead.
Yeah, but he won the state out of 3 or 4 million votes by 406 votes.
It was less than
1,000,
right? Yeah.
406 votes, and that's in 100 counties, and God knows how many precincts. I think the precincts are like 2,500
the state's
precincts.
population is roughly 10 million.
Right.
Obviously, to back the kid, there was probably about 5-6 million registered voters, somewhere in there. You might know this.
They're actually more than that.
Okay, well, just for the sake of argument, let's say 5 million.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get you, that's like 0.0001% is really what it comes down to. So it does make that much of a difference.
But don't ever think that your vote doesn't matter or what you see doesn't matter. Get it to the right people. And if nobody reacts to it, go to somebody else. Because if there's an issue out there, someone will deal with it and someone will react to it. And you never know. This survey was data mining. It was exactly what was going on. They were gathering information they didn't need. And they had no...
Oh, they needed it, Bill.
But not for the purposes of the survey.
No, they needed to sell it to other companies to make money off of it. Remember, if a product is free and you're using it, the product isn't free or isn't paying for it, you are the product.
Good point.
That's how AOL, back in the 90s, all the way up to Facebook now, they all were data mining. That's where they made their money. Facebook does not run on their advertisements. They sell your data. They know what you're going to do before you do it, those algorithms.
And if you don't believe us, how many times have you done something or talked to something at home, and within a matter of hours, you're suddenly getting all the emails or the messages through that, this is exactly what I talked about 2 hours ago.
I just had it happen yesterday.
Alexa was my favorite one. I disconnected
I don't even have Alexa.
I took mine down.
So, I have my phone here. It was sitting on the table here, and my wife and I were talking about a dryer vent cover. Never looked one up. This morning, this was last night, go to bed, wake up this morning. What do you think is the first couple of things that came up in my feeds? Dryer vent covers. There's no way this thing is not listening.
Absolutely not.
And we were outside, so you can't say it was the TV or anything like that. It's the phone. There was the only possible way they could have known. So if you think it's not happening, I got news for you. I can sell you a bridge in multiple places, not just Brooklyn, to go back to what we were first talking about, if you see something, you have to speak up. We talked about this before. The reason we are where we are is that there's a very vocal minority and the silent majority. And if one person starts speaking up, you're going to get joined by others. We're starting to see that turn a little bit.
Yeah, we are.
but it needs to become even more.
And, the other side that's causing this doesn't really like it. They weren't expecting it. And we've discussed a long time ago how the unintended consequences of COVID was us finding out about
Careful.
education.
You're going to get in trouble.
And when we found out about education, we decided we didn't like it. And people stood out and they became terrorists because of the left's labels and the FBI's labels. But I'm getting us in deeper and deeper into
I'm
this hole.
just sitting here going, don't say it, don't say it.
I cannot be censored.
Oh, you can be censored. No, you'll just get banned if you can say it. You're not allowed to talk about COVID, Bill.
All right.
I think, honestly, I think they're trying to make it like it never happened. I seriously do. They are banning. We got a strike on our YouTube because this guy read a newspaper article from
The New York Times.
that far right-wing organization
Right.
full of conspiracy theories, and YouTube gave us a strike for him reading a New York Times article.
Well, they were just upset that I would go to a far left thing that had no facts.
And there's strike number 2. Yeah, I mean, I've actually seen it, and I have friends that have talked about it. It's not just YouTube. They all seem to be. They want to squash all talk about what happened. I can't even use the words anymore in 2020 and 21, like it never happened.
You mean the lockdown?
So if we suddenly disappear, you'll see our new YouTube channel. Oh wait, we can't create another one. Let's hope Elon gets that long form video going. We will be on Twitter so fast it won't be fun. Well, we are on Twitter, but we will. This show will be on Twitter so fast it won't be funny.
And then people might actually get to watch the whole thing without censorship.
And again, one person making a difference. He just happens to be worth a couple $100 billion.
Give or take.
But if you look at it and separate the money out of it, him buying Twitter, look at the difference it's made already.
We have to wrap up now because the boss is telling us it's time. We need to wish you a happy Labor Day.
Very happy Labor Day.
Tell you we'll be back with, the following week with our usual information and discussion where
Bullshit.
I will support his right to be
We'll
wrong.
talk about the first Cowboys loss.
Yep. It's going to be a long season.
And
I can
listen
see
to
it
the
coming
whiny
now.
ass excuse.
Yeah,
how,
And we're gonna tell you what. Let's put the Cowboys and the Giants together in a pool. We'll see what happens.
No, because I don't think the Giants are going to win this year. That's not fair.
That's every
I'm not
year.
saying.
That's every year.
Okay. Again. we're
Anyway,
back-
it's time for us to say goodbye. Before we go, if you want to find us, you can find us.
Well, on Twitter, because I think we're going to be banned off everywhere else. We are on Twitter, and we do get a little spicy on there because we're allowed to. By the way, you said some really bad things about Josh Stein on Twitter.
Thank you.
You got to be more careful about that.
I'll try to make it worse next time, so hang in there.
Maybe eventually you'll figure out what you said. We're also on YouTube. Hopefully you're watching us on there. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple. We do have our TikTok also, but someone got us in trouble there.
So what we're saying is we have Cutting Edge and Wimp.
No, I just know how to play the game a little better.
I don't play the game. I just
I
go
say worse things than
hi
you do.
diddle diddle. I play the Marines right up the middle.
I know how to use certain words and stuff like that. I have a vocabulary.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Just
We'll
Peter.
see you next week.
Yeah, all right. Wrong hole or whatever it
Oh,
was.
that wasn't me. I didn't do that.
Just Peters.